to our webinar today. Thanks for joining. The topic for this webinar is why Excel isn't built for frontline training and compliance rate. And everybody who has worked with Excel, of course, knows about it. You can set up a file for yourself with all kinds of formulas in it that it kind of does the job that you want to do. But of course, it's not very stable. It's super difficult to maintain. And if you want to make any changes, or God forbid, somebody else has to work within your Excel file, then it can all come crashing down, and then it's not working properly, and it makes life just so much more difficult. And before we jump into it, a few words to myself. My name is Stefan. You can hear it. I'm from Germany originally. I live in the Netherlands here in Den Haag. It's close to the beach, which is of course really, really nice. And I work at AG5 as an onboarding and implementation specialist, which means I work with customers, with new customers that just joined AG5. They're in the beginning of their journey, and I work with their Excel files and make sure that we transform and translate their requirements into the system, that they can then manage all their skills a little bit more comfortable within AG5. If you have not heard of AG5 before, or you didn't work with us yet, here's a little slide that explains the main mission that we're focused on. And it's nice, it's highlighted here because our main goal is to visualize and close skill gaps. Right, so this is what we want to help you to do, because if your workforce is properly trained and everybody is compliant, you can work more efficient, you can work more secure, and everybody is ready to do that job. The webinar itself will take roughly 40 to 50 minutes. We do have some designated time at the end with Q&As where I can answer your questions. However, if anybody has questions throughout the session, please just post it in the chat. If time allows, then I will get right at it. I have the chat open so I can see if there are any questions. But if there's anything I cannot answer that would go a little bit more over the time, then somebody of us will do a follow-up and reach out to you to answer all your questions. You will also get a recording of that session, of that webinar, and you will get the slides that we are using today. So you have all the information that you need. Yeah, first of all, of course, we are very curious to see how you work with your skills currently. What do you use to track it? Am I using an Excel file? Are you using a specific system maybe? A combination of both, right? So just click on the poll that just opened up, because it helps us to see, hey, where we all at and what is the baseline that we can use. Okay, so it's a combination of manual tracking like Excel, for example, but also an LMS, a learning management system, which is really, really nice and interesting to hear, because we do integrate with a lot of LMS, which of course makes it even easier and better. So what will you learn by the end of the webinar? We're going to talk in depth and in detail about it, why spreadsheets are not ideal to handle such complex tasks as skills management for your workforce, especially in the long run. And the bigger the workforce becomes, the more difficult it is. I want to show you how AG5 works. We're going to have a little live demo where you can see how AG5 is set up, where you can find information, what we are offering, and how this can make your skills management a little bit easier. And then, of course, I want to show you a few tips and tricks within AG5 to make sure you understand how you will be audit ready, because that's always a big topic for customers of ours to say, hey, what's happening if an audit is coming up? How can I really, really quick and really easy, ideally, get my data ready? How can I share the data with the auditor? Or also, how can I share the data maybe with management without sharing all the Excel files? Because nobody of the management wants to go through multiple tabs in Excel file. They want to have it a little bit nicer. And yeah, how can we achieve that is something we're going to look at. Before we talk a little bit more in detail, we have to ask ourselves, when do managers actually need to update their matrix, right? And everybody who works with Excel was managing a team, no matter how big it is, you all know the tasks that are coming up every time. If you have an employee joining the workforce new, if maybe an employee changes their job role, department, Succession planning is, of course, also a big topic. If somebody leaves the company and you want to find somebody who can replace that or take over some of those tasks. It can also happen that there are new regulations coming in, or that maybe a new job role is created. You want to update the skill requirements and the training requirements for the employees. You have maybe an updated version of an existing skill already. Best example is always the first aid training that most of the time needs to be redone every couple of years. And which leads us to the last point here, is the refresher training. How can I keep track when somebody needs to be retrained, and how can this be done in an easier way than manually going through all the employees? Yeah, and this brings us right to the challenges of the Excel tracking of our skills. You can see here on the right side already, it's really convoluted. You have those errors that you can see here. It's difficult to see, hey, where's actually a skill gap? If a manager is coming and say, hey, I want to see really quick, where do we need to train people? But also, where are people overtrained, right? Because we need to manage our resources. So we don't want to undertrain our employees, but then at the same time, we also don't want to overtrain them. So we need to see, hey, what are the exact requirements? Where do we need to train more, and where can we plan anything? Manual updates in our Excel sheet lead to a lot of margin for errors. You know how it is. If somebody from another team says, hey, can you please share your Excel file with me real quick? I want to look something up. You send it over to them, and all of a sudden you have multiple versions of the same sheet flying around. Nobody's really 100% sure anymore, hey, which version is now the most up-to-date one. Somebody maybe says, hey, I want to put some extra data into the sheet because I think it would add value. So there's no consistent way of handling the data, which makes it really, really complicated in the long run and opens the door to errors, and also for a failed audit. Right? Because if an auditor has to go through multiple files and he doesn't understand what does this mean, which one is the most current data, maybe the first time he's going to ask about it, maybe the second time he's going to ask, but at the third time, I can ensure you he's not going to ask. He's just assume, hey, that's failed. Get your stuff together and make sure that this is properly presented so everybody can understand what they're looking at. Yeah, so the results from this is, of course, so you can see on the top part is the inefficiency of the operations team. Every minute and every hour you spend on a convoluted Excel sheet is an hour that is missing somewhere else, right? So you want to make sure that the person who is doing the management of the skills does not have to spend more time than needed on it. But then at the same time, I touched it a little bit earlier already, the subject. Inefficiency also relates to the overtraining, undertraining, right? You want to make sure that people are trained what they need to be trained on, and then they can do their job properly, right? You also want to make sure that you're compliant with all the regulations that are coming in from different regulatory bodies. You want to make sure that you're hitting all those rules and that you're following them and that you're not missing anything out. If, well, God forbid, there's an accident, for example, then at least you can say, hey, everybody was trained properly, and that's not your fault, or nobody's at fault here. So you need to make sure that you're following all those rules and guidelines. Stifled organizational growth here. Again, if there's no easy way for you to analyze the skill gaps in the system or in your workforce, then of course it's difficult for you to say, hey, where do we need to grow? Where do we have room for growth? Maybe we have specific requirements or more requirements for a specific group on a machine line. So say, hey, it's picking up, so we need to have more people there. And the last point, employee morale and engagement, that is actually something that we see lately more and more. Because you know how it is. It's more expensive to train a new employee, so you want to keep your employees, and you want to keep them happy, and you want to keep them engaged and involved. And one of the easiest way to do this actually is to give them a little bit more of their own agency about their skills, about their training, so they can log into the system and see, hey, this is where I'm at. Those are the skills I need to be trained on. I did this all in the past. This gives the employee a good feeling, of course, because they can see the results for themselves. But they can also use something like a potential positions feature that we have at AG5. I can show it later, which tells them, hey, I'm a logistics expert level 1. What do I need to do to become a logistics expert level 2? Right? So they can also have a little bit of agency about their own growth, their own career path, and that's really helping to keep the employees happy and keep them involved. Yeah, so to sum this all up, what is the root of the problem is Excel is a really, really great tool. I'm using it for a lot of things myself. Everybody knows this. Excel has its place, but it's just not the place where you can easily and comfortably manage the skills and your workforce. And the bigger it becomes, the workforce, of course, the more difficult it gets, right? So they're just better tools to do this than an Excel sheet with 7 different tabs that takes forever to load. And then all of a sudden you add some formulas that don't work anymore because somebody changed something or accidentally removed something. And then all of a sudden it's all a mess, right? So there are tools like AG5 which just are way better in handling this. Those are some questions that we commonly hear from the leaders that we are talking to in the onboarding is how do they understand easily where are the skill gaps, right? So skill gap analysis is a really, really big topic to make sure, hey, why does somebody need to be trained and how can I make sure that they are trained? The next one here is how do you avoid any issues in regarding of your production, your quality, your safety, right? So do I have enough people to do the task? Is everybody trained to do this? Are we following all the rules that are existing? Do we maybe have any specific requirements that are updated that need to be followed? Who needs to be retrained? Right? So they're all questions that you ask yourself when you're managing your skills in a system. And then last but not least, of course, here on the right side, you want to be able to easily find your expert internally. No, I mentioned what happens if somebody leaves the company, maybe somebody goes on parental leave or succession planning. How can you easily find that specialist who is up to that specific task? Maybe you want to build a specific project and you have requirements of different skills. And then you want to easily see, hey, who from my workforce is matching exactly those criteria and can be part of that new project. And in an Excel sheet, it's just not doable. If you have a new project and you say you have, even if it's just 5 different skills or trainings that you want to put together, which is not a lot, if you have an Excel sheet with multiple tabs and multiple people, it's just difficult for you to see, hey, which one of my employees can match all those criteria. Right, and something what we do then in AG5, we have the expert finder that lets you go through your workforce. You can see how they are trained and how they are skilled, and then you can find your expert with 2 clicks. And yeah, and that is actually something we're also going to have a look at in a bit once we go into the system. So here on the right side, you can see the nice graphic from our Excel sheet here on the left side up to the right side. And why is this so easy within AG5? Because in AG5, you can actually do pretty much all of it. You can manage your employees, you can manage your skills, your trainings, right? And then skills, in this case, is kind of like an umbrella term for anything you want to track in AG5. It's skills, trainings, could be certificates, right? You can also create skills easily in AG5. It's also very easy to create a matrix in AG5, so you don't need to have any in-depth Excel knowledge how to create a graph out of specific data sheets or data panels. So AG5 takes you by the hand and helps you setting up a matrix. You can also easily add certifications and documents, not only the ones that are achieved while you are working with AG5, but you also have a place where you can upload, for example, a driver's license for a forklift. That is something you probably don't teach your employees yourself, but you still want to have it in one place that if the audit is coming, you can see, hey, my employee had the driver's license, so he can operate a forklift driver. And then managing skill requirements and skill compliance is also done with an easy drag and drop, a few clicks, and you can create new requirements in the system. You can pull out the compliance rate So you can see, hey, how is everybody doing? How's my team doing? And you can also look ahead to see, hey, how's my team doing maybe in half a year, if that audit is coming up, right? So there are a few things in AG5 that I'm going to show you today that I hope will impress you, of course. But I also want to say, if you would come into an onboarding, of course, you will get a full out basic training, a full out advanced training, right? To make sure that you understand everything in the system, which we simply don't have the time today. But I want to make sure that you get a nice overview of what we're offering. Before we jump into AG5, the software itself, I want to give you the moment to show what our customers say about us. But we're working together currently, like Air France and KLM, for example. They are really amazed that they can save so much time with a software like us. One of the things that they were really happy about is the automated emails that we can send out. For example, when a skill or when a certificate is running out, somebody needs to be retrained. So this is an admin task, of course, for a company as big as Air France and KLM. If that is something they don't need to manually check and do, that's helped them already a lot. Same goes for Tata Steel, for example, right? They have 20,000 qualifications and over 2,000 employees and teams. You can imagine managing the skills for a group this big is a big task. And of course, something like AG5 can make their life easier. Same goes for the Rogers corporations. They're also happy about the admin work that we can take off their shoulders to make this all a bit faster and smoother. And one thing I want to point out, which is actually something not necessarily related to the topic itself, but I still want to say it real quick. A lot of those companies here did start, by the way, only with maybe one department or maybe one location inside. And then after they saw the value that we're bringing, they all grew to companies as big as 2,000 people or 20,000 skills or global enterprise companies that are joining us, right? Because it is an easy and great tool to manage your skills, even on a global scale. So with this being said, let's jump in to make it interesting and see how AG5 works. If you did not have the chance yet to play with AG5 and have a look at the demo, for example, let me guide you through what you see here. This is the first AG5 dashboard when you get into the system. And of course, this is now from an admin point of view. Of course, you do have the possibility to limit access rights to the system and to limit viewing rights to the system, depending on who it is using, right? You can give limited access to a team lead, for example, right? That this your spec, for example, the team lead would only see that specific matrix that's relating to his team. Same goes then for the employees and skills that he would have access to. And of course, I can also limit the access for the employees that they only see their own documentation. So we can customize this. But for now, for today, we do the admin view here, where you can see the different matrices. We can see here already on the naming of front workstation, logistic experts, teams, machine roles, so machine lines. You can build different matrices for different reasons and for different groups of people. In this case, we have, for example, a job role, which is a logistic expert level 1. So if I click on this one, I can see, hey, those are all my logistic experts level 1. Those are all the trainings I expect them to do. And where's everybody at? How are they trained? What is still missing? It's kind of easy to understand, to be honest. If you can see, it's green, means it's good, obviously. So you can see Kevin Smith, for example, he's trained up to level 2 in that specific skill. And in the next one, he's trained up to level 3. You can also see that this little frame here around gives an indicator what is actually required of them to do. And why is it required? If I click on it, it's required of him because he's working in the logistics team level 1. Right, so this is already our first hint that tells us, hey, why is somebody required of them? And it shows in the system, in the matrix. Of course, then you can also see here that little bell icon, and that is something that is really nice because it is your first visual indicator that Kevin is trained currently in that specific skill. However, it is about to running out. It's expiring soon. So this is then for the team lead, for example, to see, hey, there's something I need to take action, then he needs to be retrained. However, We can also set it up that the system would then send an email automatically, for example, to Kevin or to the manager or to any email address you would want that says, hey, Kevin's certificate is about to run out. Please take action and schedule a retraining. Right, so this is something that that the system can do for you. We can scroll here all the way down to see all the different skills. We can see the red icon, of course, is the skill gap that is still missing. And the green check mark generally means it's okay. If we go here to the right side, we can open our details where we have a little legend that explains that, the different symbols that we can see in the system. You can also see here we already have different rating scales put into place. Those are, by the way, customized. So we can know whatever rating scale would be relevant for you, we can put it into the system. And then if you scroll all the way down, we can also see here a little legend of the different symbols that we can encounter in the matrix. So you can on one glance automatically see, hey, there's something expiring soon. There is already something expired, and here's a skill gap that I need to take action. So, but how do we even get so far that we can build a matrix in the system? So for this, you would need to take a look at the first part, of course, and that is the employees. And we can see this here under the employee tab. This is just a long flat list of all the employees we have here in the system. Of course, if you would want to, you can add all kinds of filter. This is based on data that you put in the system. So depending what you fill in, you might have a different filter criteria here. For us, we said, okay, we have a job role, machines, right? Project, if it's a project related thing. So this can vary from customer to customer depending what is relevant. And if you just want to look at the very first one at our colleague Ryan, I can see here in the top part the general HR data that we can put in the system. I can see when they started to work, and then where it starts to get really interesting is actually here the position field, because this tells me already what is Ryan actually doing at our company. I can see, for example, he's assigned to this specific machine line. I can see he's assigned to the logistics team level 3. I can see he's working as a logistics expert level 1. But I can also see he's part of the production team as a team lead over there. And then here on the right side, we have two different numbers. What does this mean? Right? It's similar to what we saw in our matrix. The 8, the green means it's good, and the 23 means there's something we need to take care of. And what this is actually the trainings and certificates that are expected of Ryan to be trained in to do all his jobs and all his tasks. And if you unfold the position field, it actually breaks it down per position. So I can say, hey, because he's part of this machine line, he needs to be trained in 3 specific skills. Because he's part of the production team lead grouping, he has to be trained in those 22 skills, right? Here's 22 skills. And in those 22 skills, he already has 6 achieved and 16 are still open. But then so we can down the line and we can see how his specific curriculum is set up. What is this employee's task to be trained in, what is expected. And if I scroll a little bit more down, I can see a list of all the skills that he has, right? I can see what is open, what is the required. I can also add filter here if I want to know. Let's see, we only want to see the required ones. And why is this an option, required or not required? Could be, for example, that Ryan was part of a different job role before he changed now to become a logistics expert level 1. So he got maybe a training that is not necessarily required from him anymore, but he still got a training that is still valid. So of course, you want to give the employee the possibility to see and collect his historic data in the system. So you can also show it to any audit that is coming up. And of course, if you want to go and search for a specific expert on some training, you want to make sure that you have that historic record in the system still. Because then you can see, hey, you know what? Ryan could be part of that new project I want to be running because he was already trained in it. But in this case, we say, hey, show only the required ones. And then I can see here what is required, what is still open, what is already achieved. We can see here, for example, an expiration date, which means that they would need to be retrained after a year. And then again, right, you would see that yellow bell icon on the matrix itself, if that skill would be part of that. Or you can also have the email being sent out to the employee or to the manager once this is running out to say, hey, please beware in 3 weeks, in 4 weeks, whatever you want to set as a time frame here. This skill is running out, please take action. And this is a nice overview of the current curriculum for that employee, what they need to be trained in or have trained in the past. You can also group it by different categories, right? So there's different ways for you to make this easier to digest the skills that you can see. And if you would want to add a result to an employee, of course, you can do it in the matrix itself, but you could also do it on the employee page. Now, if I click on this one, and I can say, okay, he was trained, maybe let's go to a skill that he doesn't have yet. No, this is required. I can say, hey, he was trained, it was achieved. If I would want to, I could also upload a certificate here into the attachments of that specific training. Could be also, if you're using the mobile app, for example, that it would be an e-signature. If it's a training on the shop floor, of course, then nobody is running around with a laptop or with a PC somewhere. But in that case, you can easily take a tablet or even your mobile phone, and you can have an e-signature attached to that specific skill. You can make maybe a picture of something specific, have it attached to that skill. You can also note down who's signing that specific result. Is it the trainer, the employee, right? So there's a track record that can prove that somebody was trained, and then you can click on save. And then you can see now it changed, it was achieved today, and it's valid for a year. And if you click, on the attachments, for example, we can see the certificate here that was added today, right? So this is then your go-to where you can find all the different attachments for skills achieved during your time here within AG5, or also here general direct attachments to the employee. Example from earlier, forklift driver license or a CV or any certificate that was achieved before they joined the workforce can be uploaded here directly to the employee. So when you have an audit or when you have a question, you don't have to run to HR and search through different folders or whatever. You can just open up that employee and you have everything in one place. So this is already a really nice and easy way to take care of the employee data in the system. If you would want to create an employee from scratch, of course, then it's just as easy. If you click here on create employee, we can create one. I'm just going to add myself real quick so you can see how fast and easy it actually is. For now, I'm just going to add my name and that's it. Of course, you can fill out a little bit more data here. The more data we add, generally, the easier it is for you to filter on something. But in this case, for this exercise, we just use my name. And then you can see, hey, this looks kind of similar already to what we saw with Ryan, but it's just not as populated. And why is this the case? Because I don't have any positions assigned to me. And for this, I click here on New. And then I always recommend the tree list because then it's a little bit easier to find where you want to go. Because in this case, I'm just going to join Ryan as a logistics expert level 1. And that's pretty much it that I'm going to put here. And then I'm going to click on save. And that's it, right? So 2 clicks and I'm already having a curriculum set up for a new employee that joined the workforce just now. Employee turnover, right? It's super easy to manage and the new employee knows what they need to be trained on. And if I would look into the future, because we said we also want to give the employees a little bit of agency about their own career path, of course, they can say, hey, a potential position, what do I need to be trained in to become maybe a logistics expert level 2? No, so I can easily just pin it to my name and then I can see, hey, it's a potential position. What do I need to do to be trained for this? Of course, in my case, I just joined the workforce, so I need to be trained on everything. But if you go, for example, back to Ryan, he is a logistics expert level 1. He already had a little bit of training. Maybe we can see if he's becoming a logistics expert level 2. Now you can already see he already achieved 36% of those trainings that he would need to be eligible for a promotion maybe. Right, and you can open it up and then they can see what is exactly missing, what do we need to do, is there maybe any capacity to maybe join a training, right? So this is something really, really nice and helpful. So this is part of the employees. But then of course, if you look at the matrix, we have one axis is the employees, the other one is the skills. For this, we want to go in our skill list. We have our skill library, which is the different skill categories where we have all kinds of skills in here. And then if you click here on that left button, we have a flat list of all our skills, which then works pretty much the same as the employee list, right? You have the general skill information here on top, and you can see here at the bottom which employees are already trained in a specific skill. You can also see for what it's required for. So if you want to become, for example, a senior logistics specialist, you need to be trained in assessment of a team to make sure that you have that knowledge as a leadership. Yeah, so this is how we can see the skills, of course. We can add a warning period and a validity period. This is something, if we want to say we want them to be retrained after a specific time frame. This can tell us how much more in advance we want to be warned if something is running out. And then, of course, the description and that we can add here, and this is something we're using quite a lot, is you can also put a hyperlink here, for example, to a Microsoft SharePoint folder or to a Google Drive, where you would save any trainings material. However, you can also directly attach trainings material to the skill itself, and then it will be also available to have a look at. So, and if we have the employees and we have the skills, then of course we need to decide how can we create the requirements that somebody needs to be trained in. And this can be happen here under the organizational tab. I can see here we have different organizational structures. There's all kinds of information here, but of course, I'm looking a little bit on the time and I see, okay, I have to start talking even faster to make sure that we get through all of this. But yeah, let's have a quick look at the roles and requirements org structure, because this is what we just played around with a little bit to become a logistics expert level 1 and 2. So if I open this one up, I can see here in this greenish color, I can see the employees that are part of that specific grouping, and I can see in purple the skills of that grouping. And what this tells us is that everybody in here is working as a logistics expert level 1, and they need to be trained in those specific skills in here. And if you would want to add a specific skill that's maybe coming up new, you can simply drag and drop it over. And now all of a sudden, this is a requirement in the system for everybody that we just added here. And that's pretty much it. That's how you can create requirements for different groupings and for different job roles, for different machine lines, for different departments, right? So there's your imagination or your possibilities. This is endless, because depending on what you want to build requirements on, you can just do this in the system. There's no limitation to it. You can say, hey, I want to be everybody who's trained as a logistics expert level 1, have all those skills. But then you can also say for the level 1, for the level 2 ones, I want to, for example, go and have them being an expert, because I'm expecting them to be on a high level for a specific skill. Right, so this is an easy way for you to do this and to create those requirements on the go. I want to say almost, because it's really easy. If you want to move one employee to the other, you can again just drag and drop. Now, if I drag my colleague Timo now one level up, then all of a sudden he's not an expert level 2, he's an expert level 1. And this also automatically changes then in the background the requirements for his curriculum. So what he's need to be trained in, right? So this is actually really easy to maintain. If you want to create a new job role, you can just drag a new grouping in here. It's a new grouping now, let's say AG5 expert. And then we have a new grouping in here, and then I can go and add positions, in this case, meaning I can add people. And then I can go and add a skill requirement. And now this means if Ryan is becoming an AG5 expert, he needs to be trained in that specific skill. And if we actually go now to Ryan's page, we can see now that he is AG5 expert, and that here this training is still open, right? So this is an easy way for you to maintain the employees and the requirements. And the best part of this, we are integrating with all kinds of different software solutions, HR software, but also LMS software, right? Because I saw that somebody clicked LMS earlier today. we can have automations running here that says, hey, we're going to push the HR groupings for our employees in here automatically in. We have the skills coming automatically in from the LMS system, right? So this AG5 can be your central hub for your skills management and making it so much easier for you to simply drag and drop people and build requirements why somebody needs to be trained. No more difficult setting up of profiles in SuccessFactors. You can easily do it just in AG5, and then AG5 can send the curriculum back. Right, so this is a nice way to do this. One other thing I want to point out, because we talked about it a little bit earlier, is the expert finder. If you want to find somebody that is matches a specific skill set, how can you find this easy within AG5? And then, of course, if you want to prepare yourself for an audit, first, let's have a look at the expert finder. If I open this one up, you can search for literally anything in the system, right? So you can search for specific skills directly. Or if I say, hey, show me people who are trained in this one, I can get my two people. I can also search for specific mix of skills to see, hey, my new project is going to be containing those 3 skills. Lente, she's the one who has matching the most, right? So it's easy for you to plan this. But then you could also say Ryan is about to leave the company. Who is the best match currently for Ryan's requirements? So I can see Lente again that she's the best match to take over some of Ryan's responsibilities. But then I could also say, you know what, actually Ryan, he was also speaking German, but for this case, you don't really need this that much. We can lower this one. So you can really customize your search query here. And if you scroll down, now you can see you can search for skills, for employees, for groupings, and grouping in this case is coming from your org structure. So, for example, machine lines or the job roles that were there. You can search for skill library sets, right? So you can search for anything, and then the system automatically tells you who is your expert in your workforce within 1 or 2 clicks. Another big topic is the compliance tracking and preparing for upcoming audits. There are 2 ways that we can do. One is the alert list here, which is a long, big flat list of all the current the status of your workforce within your system. You can see, hey, for example, what type of skill gaps do I have? What warnings do I have? What is expiring soon? What is going well? Who's trained properly? You can filter the same as the expert finder on specific skills, on specific employees, but also on specific teams, right? So let's say, for example, my logistics experts, logistics team 1, how is this team doing? I can see we have 204, currently 204 skill gaps. Let's look ahead and say we have in 3 months an audit coming up. How will this change? And then I can see we have 1 more gap that is coming up because I guess something is running out. So this is an easy way for you to prepare for an audit, to get a snapshot of how your workforce is looking. And if you want to share this, then of course with your the management that might not want to go into detail about like a flat list like this, you can also open this one up in the Insights dashboard, which already prepares for you graphs that you can look at. You can see the compliance rate, you can see how it changes over time, you can adjust the time frame already. And if you scroll middle more down, you can also see it broken down by the skills, for example, which skills have the highest compliance rate, so which skills are really good. But then you can also see which skills need some more training. Same goes for the employees. I'm here now, I'm the least trained one in this team, but not so ideal, so I should probably be trained a little bit more. So this is a nice, really great high-level overview for anybody from management who doesn't want to deep dive into this data. So last thing we want to do before we jump into the Q&A session is we want to create a matrix from scratch. How is this working? Right, everybody who has already experienced this in Excel, it's always a little bit difficult. You have to mark all your columns and all your rows you want to include. You need to play around a little bit to match it exactly the requirements that you want to see. In this case, you simply click here on New Matrix, and then the system takes you by the hand, literally tells you what to do. First, you have to search for your employees. If we go into the tree list, let's say we want to have a look at our logistics expert level 2. It's currently only 3 people, so it's also not that big of a matrix. And then I can click on next here. Second step is I need to choose the skills where are coming that I want to add to the system. Of course, in this case, we have not that many skills in the system. However, next step, I'm going to show you a trick to make this even easier, because let's say you have 2000 skills in here, you're not 100% sure where they're actually coming from, the skills. Then in this case, you can just click your skill library, click on next, and in your next window, you can say, hey, from all the skills that I have chosen, please filter down to the one where it's at least a requirement put into place. So you can make sure that the skills you see in your matrix are also relevant to what you want to see and to the employees that are part of the matrix, right? Name, of course, right? The system suggests something based off what you've chosen. You can rename it, of course, if you want to. And then you click on save. And that's pretty much it. So with, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4 clicks, we created a matrix for the whole team. I can see all my employees. I can see the different skills. Of course, I can say, hey, this is maybe not the best view. I want to turn it around. I can increase the header size or decrease in this case, because it's not that much space here for the names, but maybe we want to increase this a little bit more. So it's really, really easy to create a matrix from scratch. And then, of course, and that is really nice, you can also make sure you can decide who you want to share that matrix with, right? People asking, hey, can you please send me the file over real quick? And then they start messing around. In this case, you can say, hey, Joost, sure, I'm going to send the file to you so you can access the matrix, but you're only viewing. So you won't be able to mess around with the data, right? So this is a really nice way. Where did I click on save now? Yoast, viewer, save. Okay, so let's say use this as an example for Yoast for the logistics team level 1. If I go now into here as a proxy user, as Yoast, because you want to see what is Yoast seeing. Yoast is an admin. Okay, well, not the best, not the ideal example. However, I can limit the access to the system that then Yoast, for example, would only be seeing that matrix, and they cannot do anything in the except of maybe looking at it. Right, so there's a nice limitation that you can give out. You can share the information, but you can make sure that the governance is always followed. Not everybody is messing around, and you stay on top of your own matrices. And if somebody does change anything in the system, then of course we always have the history here at the bottom, where we would be always able to see, hey, who's doing what in the system, who changed something, what was changed, so you can always see who messed with the data. So this is the live demo from AG5. Let's jump back into our slides real quick. Of course, if you have any questions, now is the time. I know we're already scratching at the end of our time, but I do want to take it to answer any question that might come up. So feel free to post it if there are questions in the chat. Again, you will get the slides, you will get the recording afterwards. You can also rewatch it, and you also have the possibility to book an in-depth introduction to AG5 with one of our colleagues from the sales department to make sure that we understand your requirements. So because what I just showed you was all very generic and very high level on the surface. But if you have oh yeah, okay, can we access a demo to play with the software? Yes, perfect. You can do this. You can book a demo session. You can create an AG5 system, of course, with the help of us. If you want, we're always also more than happy to do like a guided pilot, for example, and maybe we can help you get started with the system. But yeah, there's always the possibility for you to access the demo and to experience AG5 directly. That's pretty much it for today. Please give this survey a quick look. We're always happy and always interested to know how you experienced the webinar. Was it nice? Was it good information for you? Anything you want to see in the future? And yeah, let us know if we can help you with anything else. And if you want to do that demo, then of course feel free to reach out. And yeah, I hope you have a really, really nice day. I'm looking forward to maybe see some of you in a future onboarding. That will be, of course, really great. But in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful day and see you maybe next time.